What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 18th TheSportUniverse podcast. It's me, Brian, and I'm joined with Nick.
What's going on, guys?
He's in a different location this week. He's at Villanova University, so if you want to travel to Philadelphia and say hi, do that.
That's true.
Regarding that, we're all starting school again, so schedule might be a little wacky of who does what and everything. So, there's going to be different people every week, different combinations, probably, or maybe not. Okay, so,
I'll butt in there.
Yeah.
Basically, what Brian is trying to say is that Limes, Jay Limes is very busy during the school year, and it does not look like he will be rejoining us for the podcast during the school year. So,
yeah.
If you guys liked him, I'm sorry we lost him. We'll try to get him back, but as of right now, it looks like his tenure with us is coming to an end.
Sure, if you want to take it that way. School's very important, and this is obviously not a main importance for any of us right now.
Yeah.
That's the sitch. Okay, so we'll get into everything. We have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Big day.
Yeah.
Hope you guys are in for the ride.
We'll start with football. I'm not going to have a lot to say about football, but Nick definitely does. I haven't been really following much of that's been going on, so Nick, take it away.
Huge football week. So much going on. I think I'm going to go through it in sections and just talk about each little section. Try to cover everything. I don't think I can cover it all. I'm going to start with the cuts, more of the notable ones. In terms of the Giants, because obviously I'm a Giants fan, the Giants cut a few surprising people. They wind up actually cutting Kyle Aletta. I think he was a fourth-round pick in 2018 in favor for Alex Tanney, who I believe they've had for a while during the preseason, usually on the practice squad. He was an undrafted free agent, so they wound up cutting Kyle Aletta. Personally, I'm a fan of that because I want to say it was either this year or last year he got pulled over for reckless driving or something along those lines. And I just personally believe, I don't think it was his talent that really got him off the team. It was more that he was him being a locker room guy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's all I have to say about that. So, the Giants have made some pretty interesting cuts. Nothing too crazy, but that was probably the biggest one that I saw that was the bigger cut. Moving on from the Giants, I want to start off with, I guess, the Jets. The Jets wind up cutting Jachai Polite. It's tough to pronounce his name. He was a third-round pick for the Jets this year, coming out of the University of Florida. I personally thought he was a really awesome pick in the third round. He had first-round talent, had a couple injuries, but he seemed, again, really talented. There was this one play that he's actually famous for. You might see it on sports highlights. He plays, I forget, left or right end, but it really doesn't matter. They switch him back and forth. It was probably, I think it was a stretch play to the other side, or our passing play. He chased it down. He went around the offensive line and then chased it down. I want to say 40, 50 yards down the field, running through, offensive players just to make the tackle. And it was a pure effort play. So I thought a player like him was going to really show out in the NFL. Again, with having the first-round talent but being drafted in the third round, he was probably going to be a nice steal for the Jets. Apparently, he was quite the opposite when he got to the NFL. He was a horrible locker room guy. He had a bad combine, and the Jets felt like he wasn't a good fit. So it was one of the very rare instances where the Jets decided to cut a third-round pick.
Yeah.
You have anything to say about that,
No,
Brian,
really.
as a Jets fan?
It's obviously annoying that their third-round pick is just wasted now, but
yeah,
if they're making the decision for what's best for the team, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I'd look for another team to pick him up, give him another shot. He didn't.
I'm sure.
There's no larger scandal as far as we know so far. It just seems like he wasn't the greatest locker room guy. He didn't enjoy his time with the Jets. Maybe he had some arguments with Adam Gase, whoever his coaches were. We don't know the full story, but so far there's not a larger scandal there. So look for another team to pick him up. Moving forward, the Patriots, who wound up signing Demaryius Thomas last year. I want to say towards the end of the year after the Texans, I think, cut him because I think he tore his ACL in 2018. I'm unsure. I knew he was injured. He was out for the season. Patriots decided to give him a shot, and they worked him out during the preseason. They ended up cutting him. I don't think he had a spectacular preseason. As far as I know, I wasn't, completely watching the Patriots preseason or the Giants. But I'm a little bit baffled by it because I know the Patriots do enjoy their veteran players and a player, who can learn a system like Demaryius Thomas. But I guess with the return of Josh Gordon, a younger player who still has some veteran experience, I feel like the Patriots are known, and I actually, again, me and as I say that, I just got an alert on my phone for ESPN. Justin Verlander just threw a no-hitter.
He threw a no?
Yeah, he just threw a no-hitter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look at that.
Good
but
for
I guess we'll get back to them when we get to baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But Patriots, I forget, who is it again? I'm blanking out. Who's the guy who has beef with Baker Mayfield? Colin Cowherd. Yeah. Colin Cowherd talks about how the Patriots love to move off of veteran players quickly. Like they'll move off a player even if they have a small decline. The Patriots know when to release them and move on. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the case with Demaryius Thomas. So yeah, I feel like if he continues to want to play in the NFL, doesn't want to retire, another team could definitely give him a shot. Any thoughts on that, Brian?
What did you say? I wasn't listening. I was looking at my phone.
Demaryius Thomas getting cut. Patriots, think another team should sign him?
Yeah, there's definitely... Demaryius Thomas is the type of player that, like you said, can definitely learn a system quick and has proven that he definitely still has a role on teams, even if his skills are declining, and there's definitely teams that need him in their lineup.
Yeah, I can agree. I guess moving on, the Packers winded up cutting Deshaun Kaiser, which, remember, before Baker Mayfield was the starting quarterback with the Browns for that 1 year. He was pretty solid. I think he still has a shot in the NFL somewhere, so if another team wants to give him a try, he can definitely find a team. Going back to the Patriots, I have them listed down. As you guys know, we outlined the podcast before we go into it. Going on is Brian Hoyer, very older, very veteran quarterback.
I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Yeah, has been a backup for a while now, or a backup caliber. The Patriots decided to cut him, giving their backup quarterback spot to Jarrett Stidham, who came out of Auburn. And I think Jarrett Stidham's pretty solid, so I don't know if he's going to replace Brady when he decides to retire, but for now, he is the backup.
Decides to replace him in 10 years because he's never going to retire.
Pretty much. That's how I feel. He can play forever. Little bit of sadder news here, which people are kind of in uproar about it. I'll ask you what you feel afterwards, but I'll say my spiel first. The Browns decided to cut Sheehy Giuseppe, that guy who, again, if you guys could recall from a few podcasts ago, he was outside looking of the practice facility and talked to some coaches, winded up paying his way into a tryout and winded up making the preseason squad. The Browns decided to cut him, even though he returned a kick for a touchdown. Whatever it was, 75 yards. He had Odell's cleats, if you guys remember that story. So the Browns wound up cutting him. I personally believe it was a good cut. They tried him out. He made that one return for a touchdown, and ever since then he's been quiet. In terms of production levels, they just weren't seeing it from him. So I feel like, and remind you that the Browns already have a solid core of receivers between Odell, Jarvis Landry. I can't remember the last guy. Who's their third slot receiver? He's pretty solid. I can't. His name's not coming off the top of my head, but he's definitely a solid receiver. Their third slot. So they have good depth at this receiver spot as well. So there wasn't really a need for him. He didn't impress well enough to stay on the team. So I figured it's a fair cut. You could definitely still get a shot at a different team. I'd agree.
Obviously it's an emotional story and everything, and that's probably why everyone's pretty angry about it. And he turned into such a media focused guy, and he seemed to be just in it for the right reasons, and to get cut's obviously sad, but it's based off talent, and you can't just have everyone, even if there's sentimental value or whatever you want to call it.
And I guess the last notable cut that I wanted to talk about for today, which everyone was, I'd probably say was the biggest news story of all the cuts, was the Bills decided to cut LaShawn McCoy, X amount of time All-Star or All-Pro. He's been, quite the veteran running back in the league, and he's been solid ever since. In my opinion, the Bills, I feel, made the right move with LaShawn McCoy. It seems like he wasn't happy there. He wasn't having the same production. He wasn't worth the value that they had into him. It seemed like a solid cut. It was time for his tenure in the Bills to leave. I personally thought after he got cut that he was going to go to a team like the Patriots, because the Patriots could definitely pick him up for cheap, and LaShawn McCoy would love to get a ring like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He fit their system well, because the Patriots are not really the type to ground and pound the rock too much. They like, as everyone knows, the Patriots are all built around the short passing game. And somebody like LaShawn McCoy, who's really good at making cuts and is very his agility is very notable. I feel like he would have been a good fit there. But he wound up going to the Chiefs, which I think is also a pretty solid spot for him. LaShawn McCoy and Damian Williams will make a very solid backfield for the Chiefs and are trying to replace the hole that was left by Kareem Hunt. And so I like the fit for him in the Chiefs. So I guess that's all I got to say about it, Brian.
And he gets to join Andy Reid again, which is definitely.
I think that's the main reason he went there. Honestly, was to be back with Andy Reid. He liked Andy Reid.
Yeah.
So that's all the notable cuts. Any other any cuts I didn't mention, Brian, that you come off the top of your head?
Definitely don't know.
Okay. There's just been how many players get cut, and there's like 40 cuts on each team, so it's hard to track them all, but those are just a few that I saw in the media and I kind of wanted to cover. Moving on, I wanted to talk about major trades, and the only two teams that made major trades during this whole, as the cuts start to happen, the final cut down before the real season starts, there's always a lot of trades. Like last year, Khalil Mack got traded at the deadline to the Bears, right?
What a stupid trade.
This year it was Jadeveon Clowney, which everyone kind of saw coming. But in terms of what Houston acquired, I just want to talk about overall, right? Houston was the main focus around the trades this time around.
The Jets were
Miami
too, right?
Slightly.
Weren't the Jets? The Jets?
The Jets make any trades?
No, weren't they like in the trade discussion for Clowney too?
Yeah, I think the Jets were in the trade discussion. The Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Dolphins. The Seahawks wanted to make him the best offer, which I still think it wasn't good. So the offer that, and I'm sure everyone knows about this, but I'll just run through it again. Houston wanted up trading, I think, a summary of picks. I think one of them or two of them were first rounders for. And obviously Jadeveon Clowney for I think a few or a couple of third-round picks, 2 linebackers. I know one of their names was Mingo. These linebackers are projects, are not really talents. I really don't see the value that the Houston got in return. So they got those 2 linebackers, and they winded up getting I think Carlos Hyde as well in that trade. And then later on, the Texans, I think, traded again with that was with the Seahawks, right? The Seahawks acquired, they traded Carlos Hyde and a couple of picks for Jadeveon Clowney. And the Texans acquired the linebackers, Carlos Hyde, and a couple picks.
I could be wrong, but isn't it like rare in the NFL for like to trade like players like from each team? Isn't it usually like picks and then for like a player, or is that not true?
Yeah, so trading is a little bit, I want to say, less impactful in the NFL. So when they happen, it's more, they like to include a picks because there's so many picks in the draft, right? You have 11 players on each side of the ball. You have 22 players on the field plus special teams. So a player, an individual player, doesn't make as big of a difference as the sum of players do in a football team. Unlike the NBA, where you only have 5 players on the court at once, so one player can make a huge difference, right? So yeah, a lot of trades in the NFL involve a sum of picks and a lot of pick swaps. So that's where the pick value comes in. Like picks are usually valued a lot higher than players are actually in the NFL.
Gotcha.
So later on, I want to say it was the same day or it was the next day. Miami began to get busy. They winded up trading Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills to the Houston Texans, I think, for a variety of picks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Houston wound up gathering some linebackers, which I guess they kind of need linebacker help. They're going to be thinner there, especially without Jadeveon Clowney. Mm-hmm. They picked up Laramie Tunsil, which has been a huge issue for the offensive line for Houston to protect Deshaun Watson, who's a budding quarterback. I think he definitely needs protection to really reach his potential, which they're gaining right there. And Kenny Stills, which is another wide receiver for him to throw at. So he's a very solid Deshaun Watson is a very solid wide receiver core now with the DeAndre Hopkins, Kyle Fuller, was it Will Fuller, and he'll have Kenny Stills now. So that's a very solid wide receiver core. And now he has Laramie Tunsil. So I feel like Houston didn't do terrible with it. I just feel like they could have got a lot more trade value for Clowney. And going back to Miami also traded Kiko Alonso to the Saints. Kiko Alonso, who's been a veteran linebacker in the league for a while now. He's always been a very solid starter. I think he's known for, I think he made a late hit on somebody last year, was it? Was it like Carson Wentz or somebody along those lines? I couldn't tell you. That's what he's known for in recent history. But he requested a trade from Miami, and they traded him to the Saints, which is really good for the Saints because they get a lot more depth at linebacker, which Saints, in my opinion, are kind of at this point the best team in the league. I'd power rank them at 1. So having more depth at linebacker only helps them.
Yeah.
And Kiko Alonso gets out of Miami. Miami, right now, I'm a little confused on what they're trying to do. By gaining some picks for Kiko Alonso, I think the Miami's just trying to self-implode right now at this point.
Yeah, they don't have a lot going for them.
Yeah, they don't have a lot going on. I really don't know Miami's plan. In my opinion, Miami's by far the worst team in the NFL right now. So I could not tell you what that dumpster fire of a franchise is doing, but they trade Kiko Alonso. Any larger comments on the trades?
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that went on. We'll see how Jadeveon Clowney does in the Seahawks system. I think he'll do fine. He's Jadeveon Clowney. He's talented. He'll figure it out.
If you're talented, you're pretty much sure.
Yeah. There was like one extension they wanted to cover too. Miles Jack wound up getting extended for the Jaguars, which keeps him there for a little while. He's a very solid linebacker for them. And the bigger extension that I wanted to talk about was Rodney Hudson for the Raiders. They extended him as well. Their center, he is now the highest paid center on an annual basis going into the NFL future. I think he's a very solid center. Does he exactly deserve? Is he the best center in the league? I'd probably say no, but he's definitely top echelon. So, I'd say he's just about worth the value there. You're not going to find a better center than him. So I don't mind them shelling out the money for him. On a grander note, moving on from that, I want to talk about the Giants preseason. Overall, the Giants went 4-0 in the preseason, which people are saying, for me as a Giants fan, was pretty awesome to see. They played as a team. They showed heart. It seems like it's a different Giants team from last year. Giants team last year seemed like they did not want to play together, where this year it seemed the exact opposite. It's just a different morale in the team. So I'm looking forward to the season. I think the Giants could surprise people and maybe even become a playoff team if they really play well. If not, I could see them, realistically. We're talking 6-11, 7-9 team, or 6-10 team rather. So I'm kind of excited for the Giants season going ahead. Daniel Jones was by far the best quarterback, a rookie quarterback coming out of the preseason. So as a Giants fan, I feel like there's a lot of exciting things coming forward. So stay tuned.
True.
Also in Giants news, there's something. Evan Ingram, after the cuts yesterday, randomly unfollowed the Giants and posted. I don't know if you guys have seen it going around. There's like the I'm a head out, a SpongeBob meme going around. He posted that on his story, and then he unfollowed the Giants. So I don't know what happened with Evan Ingram. We'll see what that develops into, if any real stories come out of that. But I just wanted to note that going forward.
That's interesting.
With the last preseason game, Sue wound up laying a hit on Baker Mayfield. He got fined $21,000 for it. And then from that, I was going to segue into this is what Brian wanted to wind up talking about, the Baker Mayfield and Daniel Jones situation. Do you want to give your spiel on that?
Is that all you have to say about the NFL? Because I can just talk about it for a little bit.
Yeah. I'll go into college football after we're done with Baker Mayfield and Daniel Jones. Yeah.
So I think this was last week. I did a TheSportUniverse reacts on it, but I'll just talk about it for a little bit because me and Nick haven't really discussed it. So it came out. There's a GQ interview with Baker Mayfield, and we know, being social media people, how things are spread throughout the internet, and the big quote from it was that, well, it wasn't really a quote or whatever, that Baker Mayfield was basically shocked that the Giants picked Daniel Jones at number 7, and the way it was going around the internet and everything was that Baker Mayfield was dissing Daniel Jones and his skills and everything, but it was a perfect example of the media running with something that wasn't really true. What Baker Mayfield was basically trying to say through it was saying how kind of unfair just the way QBs are evaluated in the league. It was odd for Daniel Jones to be picked number 7 based off how his win-losses in college or something, and he even used himself as an example that he was surprised that he was taken number 1 overall because he was so small, and usually they want tall statured quarterbacks in the NFL. So it was just another example of the media taking something way out of proportion, and it's something that really needs to be highlighted because there's been issues recently with players not wanting to talk to reporters and everything, and just not wanting to say what they want to say because they're worried that reporters are going to take any little snippet of of their interview or whatever and run with it, and that's a perfect example of what happened. That's basically it.
Going off of that, I would definitely agree with everything Brian just said. I feel like the media is definitely trying to create a rift between the Browns fans and Giants fans, and I could not tell you why. It all stems really from Giants trading Odell.
Yeah.
And I guess Odell wasn't happy with the Giants, which and people could see that pretty obviously, right?
Yeah.
So I guess they're just trying to put, there's a fire there, and then the media's just trying to stoke it and fuel it. But at the end of the day, let's real fire be real fire, and let's not scream fire in a crowded theater. Let's essentially just let's not create panic where there's not.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Me too. I guess you could talk about your college football thing.
Sure. Since yesterday and even going today, I think Oklahoma plays Texas A&M tonight.
Just to let everyone know, as much as I don't really follow what's going on in football, I follow college football so much less than what regular football. So I'm going to have nothing to say.
Oh, I do too, but I just wanted to cover it because there's a lot going on. I believe Oklahoma Sooners play a decent team tonight. I'm not sure. I just really want to check this because now I'm curious. They play Houston tonight. God. Okay. Regardless, the first week of college football is underway. A couple exciting games. I guess I'll start with my personal college football team now. The Villanova Wildcats beat the Colgate. I don't even know what the hell they are. Colgate whatevers. I think they were Colgate was, I think, ranked nationally, and Villanova wound up beating them 34-14. So pretty exciting for me.
Did you go see that?
I did not. It was at Colgate.
Oh.
The next Villanova Wildcat football game is on September 7th here. We're playing Lehigh. Who, if you guys have been watching on social media, I forget who was punting yesterday, but there was a punter trying to punt it, and he bobbled the ball. Lehigh laid out the punter. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I mean, God bless this punter, but he got laid out, and Lehigh scooped it up for a fumble 6. Beyond that, Penn State went off yesterday. I can't remember what team they beat. They beat them 79-7 or something along those lines. Absolutely destroyed them. I mean, it was utter domination. They used 9 running backs, like like 4 quarterbacks. It was ridiculous. They ran all over. It was Idaho. They destroyed Idaho 79-7. Total blowout. It was pretty sad to see. I personally don't like when games get that high. It's like you're kicking people while they're down. At some point, you got to put in your 4 stringers, and at some point, you got to tell your 4 stringers to stop scoring. Yeah. It's too much. But I guess it sucks because of how national rankings work, and how there's the committee that really decides it. It's more like how people's feelings are than statistical, or I don't know. I guess it's hard to decide. I personally think that college football should be more like college basketball, where you have more teams in the playoffs. I get that it'll be longer, but it's so hard to pick 4 teams from all of college football to decide, who's the best team. Because you have games, by doing that, you're going to create games like this where teams have to blow each other out by 100 points to try and get a good national ranking.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. Going further, we'll talk about the 2 top dogs. Clemson beat Georgia Tech 52-14. No surprise there. And Alabama beat Duke, I want to say 42-3. So, no surprises there. Those teams are dominant. Trevor Lawrence looked like Trevor Lawrence. Tua looked like Tua. Nothing new there. I got to say the bigger upset, there was 2 bigger games last night that I wanted to cover, the 2 biggest games. I'll start with one. The Tennessee Volunteers fell to the Georgia State. I don't even know what they are. They fell to Georgia State last night. I caught a couple glimpses of that game. Bad luck for Tennessee. It seems like Tennessee is cursed. They can't seem to win. So that was the major upset from yesterday. And I'd say the biggest game of the night was the primetime game. You had the Oregon Ducks versus the Auburn War Eagles. It was a game where it was constantly back and forth. This team scored, stop on defense. It wound up being 21-20 going into the fourth quarter. Going back at it, the Auburn ended up pulling it out with 5 seconds left in the clock. Threw up their quarterback, Nix, who was actually a freshman, came in and defeated Justin Herbert. And in the final seconds of the game, they decided to chuck up a fade to the left side of the field, and Auburn came down with it and won in the reigning seconds. So it was a pretty exciting game to watch. Justin Herbert looks solid that game. Nothing too complaints about him. Still looks like a first-round draft pick. Nothing new there. So
that's your college football segment.
Yeah. Also, I think Wake Forest won too. So even though I got rejected there, very sadly, I'm still going to root for them because I have some friends there. So Wake Forest took a W as well.
All right. So we'll go into baseball now, and there's not much to discuss, but there's a big Tyler Skaggs thing, and if you guys watched the Sport Universe, I did a Sport Universe React yesterday about Tyler Skaggs. So news came out about his autopsy, which a lot of people had been wondering about because his death was kind of mysterious. But it turned out that he had a mixture of alcohol and fentanyl and Oxycontin, a very lethal mixture, and he ended up choking on his vomit, probably in his sleep or something. And obviously he died, which I went into it a lot in the Reacts video, but basically it just, when teams honor these players like Skaggs and Jose Fernandez, obviously they deserve to be honored because in general they're great people, but when it comes out how they ended up dying, it takes a lot of the meaning behind it out of it because they're not these perfect human beings that they're cut out to be. And obviously you can't judge a person based off their last mistake, but when it's a situation like this, it's hard to not change your feelings a little bit.
I can agree to that. I don't know. For me personally, even beyond sports, people who choose to use hardcore drugs recklessly like that,
mm-hmm.
I don't feel bad for their death. I feel bad for their families. I feel, I guess, bad for them because they made those choices. Yeah. But in terms of their death specifically, I don't feel bad for it. It's just they essentially brought it upon themselves.
Yeah.
They made those choices. obviously that's not every circumstance. Some people are forced into those drugs in various ways, but obviously, most likely in Tyler Skaggs' situation, he was enjoying being a professional athlete, in party life, and probably got into some drugs that he probably gradually got into, but he made those decisions, and it unfortunately ended his life. But
which sucks at this point is that, like, when the whole Tyler Skaggs thing came out, I was like, there's definitely some type of alcohol or drugs involved, which I wished wasn't the first thing that my mind went to. But when it's sports players, I wouldn't consider him like a star like Jose Fernandez, but it's kind of hard not to expect it that they aren't involved in anything like alcohol or hardcore drugs like that, which is kind of very disheartening as a sports fans and following these players that are supposed to be role models to little kids. Off of that, we'll talk about the Mets and the Yankees. I guess I'll start. So the Mets had been on a 6-game slide, 6 or 5, I think it was 6, which kind of took them out of the wild card contention a little bit. They ended up being 5.5 games out, and coming into today, they've just won 2 in a row against Philadelphia, another team that's in the wild card hunt. So they're close to being back in it. I think they're 4 games out right now, so hopefully they can sweep and get 3 games out of the wild card. I was looking at their schedule. Coming up, they have a big series against the Nationals, another wild card team, which could very much help them if they could beat them up. And then they have the Phillies coming up, and then the Diamondbacks. So a lot of teams that are in the hunt for a wild card contention. So if they could win these series or do really well, they definitely have a chance to get back in and get into the playoffs. But it's really on them to just keep winning based off how their schedule is going. That's it for my Met stuff.
In terms of the Yankees, again, the Yankees are going to be the Yankees. They're 6-4 in their last 10, so they're not doing as good as they usually do, but they're still solid. Mm-hmm. The same problems kind of stay with the pitching. It just isn't there. The Yankees put up 5 to 7 runs a game, and they'll still lose games. It's tough. Mm-hmm. And when Yankees lose games, they lose by blowouts. They lose like 8-3. Which I think was the Oakland A's. The Yankees are playing right now. They're actually down 4-0. The Yankees, I think, are 1 game ahead in all of baseball. They've lost their number 1 spot in baseball, while their lead in it by a little bit.
Who's second?
I believe second are the Astros.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The Astros are number 2, and then number 3 is the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I expected them to be up there.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's not much to talk there. The Yankees are still the Yankees. Kind of a hot take going into next season. I would like that the Yankees should definitely make a change. Obviously we got to see how this postseason goes and whatnot. But I personally, I'm kind of skeptical whether they're going to win the World Series or not. Obviously, they're definitely going to make the playoffs at this point, right?
Yeah.
But are they going to win the World Series? I don't know. If pitching is the issue, obviously some changes are going to have to be made. And I say the first person to go, in my opinion, would probably be Giancarlo Stanton. He's been injured for so long. They paid him so much money, and he just hasn't had the production that they've needed. Mm-hmm. And as a former national MVP, he could definitely be useful on other teams, and he definitely has trade value. So they would be able to get some good pitching for him. So I think he would be a nice trade option.
And they don't really need it. They don't really need his hitting.
They really don't.
Yeah. It's a good, kind of like a good situation to be in, though.
Yeah, it is a good situation to be in. That's all I got to say about the Yankees.
Okay. So I guess we'll get into basketball. There's not much to talk about. I'll let Nick talk about. He wants to talk about the Villanova Wildcats a little bit. So
I do. I guess I'll start with the Villanova Wildcats. Being at Villanova, I've gotten to know a few basketball players here. One of them actually transferred with me. His name is Caleb Daniels. He transferred from Tulane. Really nice guy. Seems like he has a good work ethic. He he can't play this year because in the transfer clauses, which I think are a whole nother story. Because they'll waive them if the players are nationally known, but in his case, it's obviously the committee's not going to waive it. So he has the red shirt for this year, but going into next year, he's going to be a senior, and then I think he'll probably say his post-grad year here to play basketball again. So he'll be here for my time here. He looks like he's really good. I also had the pleasure of meeting, kind of funny, I met him on a dance floor during orientation. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who was the 16th ranked player in the country coming into this year. If you go look at his highlights, I think he's 6'8", 6'9". He's very athletic, can really dunk the ball. Seems like he has a good head on his shoulder. He really likes to have fun. He seems like a good-hearted kid. Another addition to the Villanova Wildcats team. In terms of our basketball team this year, it looks like we're going to be pretty good. I think obviously we're probably going to make a tournament again. I'd say more than likely, kind of guaranteed.
It's pretty exciting to go to a school like that.
It is. It's one thing that I do enjoy about going here. I think personally that right now Villanova definitely has a shot, in my opinion, at winning the Natty this year, depending on how things go. I'd say next year even more likely because we'll have even more veteran players. We'll have juniors and seniors and just more talent and more experience. So next year's looking even better. But in terms of this year, I definitely say we have a solid shot at winning the Natty because, in my opinion, going into this year, when you look at all the college basketball teams in Division I, there's not really one that, in my opinion, stands out and says that team's a shoo-in like there was with Duke last year.
That's true. Yeah.
A lot of the teams got players drafted, so I think college basketball is kind of open right now, and Wildcats have a chance, as we speak, before we go into the season, to take it.
NYU does not have a shot, just if anyone was wondering.
Moving on in basketball, me as a Rapids fan, and it was kind of larger news. Eric Gordon got re-signed. I forgot how much money they gave him. They gave him a significant amount of money. I don't mind it. Eric Gordon's been a solid part of our team for a while now.
He's 54
He's good off the bench.
54.5 million.
54?
Yeah.
Okay. He's been good off our bench. He's been a solid starter. He's definitely talent that our team needs, and I'm happy we got him back. So that's all I got to say about that. In further news on the bad side, as we all know, DeMarcus Cousins tore his ACL about 2-3 weeks ago during practice in Las Vegas. And to add insult to injury, he just was issued, there was a warrant arrest issued out for him. I'm sure he probably got arrested by now. He's a celebrity. He's not going to hide. And that is
it's a
as a result
domestic
to
violence thing.
Yeah, there was a threat that he made to his ex-wife. So essentially, DeMarcus Cousins, he got divorced and he got remarried this recently. I'm not exactly sure when. As a result, he wanted his son to be there. What he had with his ex-wife, the ex-wife did not want his son being at his new marriage, his new wedding. Which I personally disagree with. Right, it's definitely a tough situation. I think the son should allow to go to his dad's.
Definitely.
Either way, his son's going to be. If DeMarcus Cousins is going to be in his son's life, his son's going to have to interact with his stepmother at some point. It just doesn't make sense. I think she should have went to the wedding. But as she said, no, the phone call was recorded. DeMarcus Cousins responding, "I'm going to put a bullet through your effing head," along those lines. Not a good look for DeMarcus Cousins.
So bad.
I think he's totally wrong by saying that. People are like, "Oh, he's just angry. He has the right to be angry," but you don't say stuff like that.
Definitely not.
There's a way to be angry and not be that aggressive. So he was charged with domestic violence, which since it's only a verbal threat over the phone, is probably going to be minimal in terms of actual legality portion of it. But in terms of his reputation, that's a big hit in my opinion.
Whenever a lot of people in the sports world are arrested for things, but domestic violence is one of those things that's up there in the worst things that sports players can do, and it definitely stays with you.
Yeah, in terms of that, it's just if players want to risk injury to themselves or harm themselves, you hate to see it, and you kind of feel bad, kind of don't. It's a tough situation, right? But when they're going to harm others, there's no place for that, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to condone or even even consider that to be okay to threaten others or anything that affects other people directly.
Definitely. Okay. Do you want to talk about soccer or just skip that?
Sure. I wanted to see if we could add in a new slot here just to spice things up. Again, I'll remind you guys again, I'll say it a million times. I'm here at Villanova now, and my roommates are actually pretty big soccer fans. So I've been chopping it up about soccer with them. And I don't know, we were just talking. One thing I wanted to note about, going into soccer, PSG, who recently acquired Neymar from Barcelona. Neymar has not been playing well for them. He apparently is not a good locker room guy, and he kind of wants out. PSG is currently stuck with him based on contractual issues. So that kind of sucks for PSG. PSG is I forget what the real name is, but they're the French team.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I'm not even going to guess at it. And then, in terms of the bigger soccer game that I actually watched earlier today with them, personally, soccer, I'm not hugely into, but I'm kind of into it. I personally like one player. His name is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So whatever team he goes to, I follow. He plays for Arsenal now. Arsenal and Tottenham, they played today. And those are two of the biggest teams in the Premier League for soccer. They wound up tying 2-2 in a pretty heated match. It was pretty fun to watch. So yeah, that's about all I got to say about soccer. If you guys want more soccer, you'll let us know. Comments, emails, etc., which you guys never do, but we'll keep saying it until you do it. So yeah, I don't know. I might as well. I think we'll probably keep soccer to a minimum since we're not huge experts on it. But if there's larger news, I wouldn't mind covering.
Oh yes.
Would you? The same, Brian?
Yeah.
Though, are you touching the ceiling?
Yeah, I know. I sleep on a bunk bed, so I can touch the top of the ceiling.
Yeah, I could see Brian when we do these podcasts, and he was touching the ceiling.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
I'm doing it right now. Okay.
I wanted to cover one thing before we go into our controversial topic, towards the end. There's this Instagram account called All Sports News, which is actually started by somebody who went to school in me and Brian's area.
Really?
But people really don't know that. I don't want to say what school because I don't want to shout him out. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he wants to be known, but
you'll tell me after.
It started by a school in our area. So I just wanted to cover it because he does power rankings for almost every sport, except soccer major, like basketball, football. I think baseball he does it for. And he was doing his football rankings, and I noticed when he was getting to the top teams, I'm like, there's one specific team that's left, and I don't think they should rank this high. He wound up putting the Philadelphia Eagles at number 2, the second best team in the NFL. And I'm just in awe of that. What makes you think that the Eagles are they hardly made the playoffs last year. They got lucky off a double doink, right? Was that they were the double doink against the Bears? I think that was the team that they were playing against. It was the double doink.
What's a double doink?
When Cody Parker.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know what you're referring to.
Doink.
Yes, I gotcha.
I mean, the Eagles have got lucky getting into the playoffs last year. They are not the same team that they were when they won the Super Bowl.
Definitely.
To me, that was more of a fling thing. They were playing well. I think that was more a result, honestly, of Doug Peterson, and his coaching was really innovative that year. And since then, every single team has done what they did that year in terms of RPOs and the Jets, the Rams really took it over too. Mm-hmm. Big team that copied them. So yeah, what made them special this Super Bowl year? I feel like they don't have. They still have solid talent. And I could definitely still see putting them maybe top 10, top 15 team in the NFL.
Yeah, not number 2.
But to say that they are number 2 is kind of ridiculous to me, considering the fact that I personally believe that, based on looking at talent and what we have here, right, I think the Cowboys are better than them in the NFC East. So the fact that they may not even win their division, and you have them ranked at number 2 is ridiculous.
Who's his top 3?
I think the Patriots were at 3, and I believe Saints are going to be number 1. Number 4, I believe he had the Rams. Number 5, he had the Chiefs, which I don't think the Rams are that good. I'd put the Rams at 6, 7 maybe.
Interesting.
Even going off of that, I'm just going to give a quick power rankings. I'm not going to go through an entire team, the entire league, but I'd say I'd personally put Saints at 1, Chiefs at 2. I'd probably put Patriots at 3. I'd put at number 4, I'd probably put the Bears. And then number 5, I'd probably put the Chargers, and then number 6 I probably put the Rams. So just like Eagles, definitely not even close to that. I don't know how you kept them at number 2, and I'll leave it at there.
All right. I guess we'll get into our controversial topic now. Now, this isn't like one where like we pick sides and everything. We're just gonna talk about it. So with the whole Tyler Skaggs thing, people don't really know if it was a mental health thing that caused him to be on drugs and alcohol and stuff, but we kind of wanted to discuss the whole drug and alcohol epidemic across the sports thing and how it's been affecting players. So my view on it, I don't know how my view stacks up to a lot of other people's, but if you know me, I'm not big into any of that stuff. And I feel like for sports players, I think it has to be more of a issue that's put in their contracts or just talk to them about, that they have to be role models for kids. And when obviously it's fun to party, and I get that they can live their life, but when it comes to putting their whole life on main stage media and everything like that, drugs and alcohol has to be put to a minimal amount that they could use, because if they're supposed to be role models to kids and everything like that, it can't be a thing that they do, and it can't be a thing that eventually kills them, and kids are going to honor them for that. It just seems like a very sticky situation.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. Like, alcohol and drugs is a huge problem across current players and even ex-players, and especially, I'd say, it's a bigger problem along the ex-players. As you guys know, I work with I see a bunch of athletes, it's like primes, and there's a good portion of them that struggle with like alcoholism and a variety of drugs. It's sad to see these great people who did great things in their careers, fall victim to stuff that hurts everyday people too.
Yeah, I think continue.
It's very tough. It's just very tough to see, and you want to see these athletes do better for themselves. Not even for themselves, but again, as Brian was talking about, being a role model. In my personal opinion, I think that alcohol and any drugs, if you're asking me, during the season should be in their contract. They are not allowed to use. They should not be allowed to drink alcohol during the season.
Yeah.
Because what do you need you shouldn't be partying during the season anyway,
true.
Right?
That's definitely true. Especially in baseball, when there's like games like every other day and every day.
Even in football, like how are you making your body in top shape if you're going to sit there and drink alcohol you're just not.
I mean, it's definitely an issue in sports, but like it's a much broader issue among like famous people and everything like that, and what people get involved in. So it's a much bigger topic, something that needs to be kept an eye on for the future of sports and everything like that. I guess that's it. It's a very long podcast. Let's see. I was doing a timer for it. I think we're at 46 minutes. Wow. Okay.
Not as long as I thought it was going to be, but it's pretty solid.
Yeah. Any final words, Nicholas?
I'll give my regular spiel. This podcast is a work in progress. Jonathan may not be with us, but we're going to keep trying to do it every week. I'm hoping to come back with articles soon once I figure out how to plan my time for the upcoming semester of college. Going off that, if you guys have any questions either about sports, either even video games, as I said in the past, I'm pretty big into like Madden, FIFA, etc. If you want to talk about that, if you want to talk about college too, in terms of Villanova or even Binghamton or any college in general, just talk to me. I'm an open person. Contact me on my email at nicholasforbath10@yahoo.com. Check. We actually just started selling T-shirts. Are those still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are also the T-shirts will be in my bio as well as Brian's. My bio on Instagram is nick.horvath. You can check that out. My T-shirts are there. I'll let Brian go on more about the T-shirts, but just contact us if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Brian?
Regarding the articles, so our posting schedule for that is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, so there's going to be one today. I try to keep them kind of short so it's not an annoying read for people, because I know how that is. Reading is not the funnest thing. Oh wait, was there something else I forgot? No, never mind. Okay, so we're going to be back next week, hopefully. I mean, definitely, at least I will. We'll see how Nick's schedule works out. Comment what you thought of our conversation today and everything like that. So we did start a little t-shirt thingy-majig. I don't want to know what you would consider it, but our first shirt was for Andrew Luck. I'll link it down below, and it's also on my Instagram and Nick's Instagram and TheSportUniverse Instagram, which we're still trying to figure that out. So maybe buy a shirt if you want. They're $17. And I don't know how much shipping is, but
buy a shirt and support the cause.
Yeah.
If they do well, we're gonna keep doing them. So
yeah. Check out our videos on YouTube. We post every day. There's not really a time that I post. It's just whenever I finish the videos. So keep watching those. We're up to 70 subscribers. It's the road to 80 now. So keep subscribing.
We're almost up. We're gonna get to 100. We're gonna get monetized soon.
Yeah, you get monetized on YouTube at 4,000 subscribers. So get us there. Oh, also there's a giveaway once we get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to be giving away 2 t-shirts. We'll figure how that works. That's probably in not the near future, but hopefully. So if you have any interest in writing for us, editing videos, I don't know if maybe you're a t-shirt designer or something like that, or want to help us with Instagram and trying to figure that sitch out, contact us.
Our list of employees needed very, very long.
Yeah.
You got any type of skill, we will probably take you.
You're not going to get paid, but because we don't have any budget like that.
Yeah, we're not making money off of this.
Yeah. So contact us at TheSportUniverse2019 at gmail.com. And thanks for listening.